Hello, Jennifer.
Hello, how are you?
Good. How's my boy Eric? I love you.
I love you too. He's great. He's like, I'm great. I'm ready to do this today.
Ready to rock and roll. I was just telling Jennifer, Eric, as you probably heard, I have had this itchy rash. It comes different places, like my face, right here, my forearms. What is that from? I've had it for like 3 months.
Yeah, so actually when you were telling me about it, what he was saying is that there is something going on inside of your body.
Okay.
That's like, a lot of times
Oh,
rashes are topical. He said
oh
no, there's
yeah.
something going on inside.
Yeah.
Like your equilibrium is off inside, your pH is off inside is what he's saying.
Oh,
It's not something that's topical.
oh, interesting. Because yeah, topical cortisone doesn't work that
No.
well. That is
No,
really, I didn't think about that. Maybe it's ascension or something. Um,
yeah.
is it, what should I do? Because it's really, I have to wake up in the middle of the night and put cortisone on this when I
Yeah,
can't go to
it's
sleep.
okay, so he says you do need to do some sort of a cleanse
Okay.
to get your system back to
No
balance.
colonics. Sorry. I'm not going to do that. All right,
So
I'll
you
do
don't
that
have to do a colonic.
like a detox.
Yeah, like a detox.
Okay.
Yes.
Because I'm a dirty woman. Anyway, that's not what we are here to talk about. We are here to talk about anxiety. And I thought, well, I don't have anxiety to cause this rash. But anyways, perfect segue. Hello, let's talk about Eric's viewpoint about anxiety. For example, what are the spiritual causes? Everything that we have in the way of disorders or diseases has a spiritual basis. So do you want to start there?
Yeah, and so really the first thing he says is sometimes people have anxiety because they're sensitive to the spirits on the other side.
Mm.
So if the spirit energy is around them, because he said, because the spirit world vibrates at such a higher level, sometimes people who are sensitive to that high vibration can feel like anxiety. He
Oh, I
said,
see.
so really and truly, sometimes it's literally just the spirit world being around you that makes an increase in anxiety. He just says there's so many reasons. Um, Anxiety tends to go hand in hand with people who are empathic.
Oh, I bet. All this
Um,
energy coming in, coming
yeah,
in. They don't know what to do with it. They don't
yes,
understand it. Hey, this might not be mine. It might be somebody else's. Yeah.
yes, yeah, exactly. And he said even for people, even he said that's so hard because when you're empathic, anxiety that's yours or anxiety that somebody else's does not feel physically any different.
Okay.
He said that just doesn't feel, it feels like your anxiety.
Mm.
Um, and so there tends to be, which I understand what he's saying. People who tend to be empathic or tend to be more spiritual are more open to the spirit world anyways, to the existence, to the fact that there's something else going on. So he said that automatically brings your energy up to where you're able to sense the vibrations more
Oh,
easily.
yeah.
And a big factor for people who are empathic.
Mm.
But he said there can be other reasons for anxiety that's not because of the spirits,
Mm-hmm.
but that's to do with your spiritual growth and your spiritual learning. And he
Mm-hmm.
said that's more of what you would write into your chart. He says like with any kind of anything that is a challenge for you. He said anxiety is just another one of the things, depression, anxiety, um, physical medical health issues. He said people do write in that they will be anxious people.
Oh, so a
Um,
soul might say, well, before I incarnate in this body, I want to struggle with anxiety.
yes, he says
Okay.
absolutely. He says it seems like a lot of people are choosing to have that as a challenge now. He said
I
because there's
know.
a lot of it, just a lot of anxiety,
Yeah.
just around the world, a lot of anxiety.
Could part of it be ascension?
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Because again, he says the more aware you are of the other side,
Yeah.
um, he said that energy does sometimes create anxiety because of the high vibration.
Oh, yeah. And
So
as you
he,
ascend, doesn't your vibrational frequency increase too?
Mhm. Yep.
Okay. So
Yeah.
it's not
So
necessarily a bad thing.
no, it's not. It's not necessarily a bad thing. Yeah, because the higher that our vibration is as humans, the easier it is to recognize the vibrations from the other side, from the
yeah.
spirit world. If our vibrations are very, very low, if we're very, very sad, or we're very much in the grief, it lowers our vibration. Those
Oh,
those
yeah.
emotions lower the vibration, makes it
Yeah.
harder to sense the other side. Now, that doesn't mean you won't have anxiety. It's just coming from a different place, he says.
Oh, yeah. Okay, that makes sense. Hmm.
Yeah.
So, how can somebody uh, change their perception to like from anxiety being this crippling disorder that is like a sign that you're not enough or something's wrong with you, to the perception that, hey, I'm just open to spirit. I'm just open to the other side more. And my vibrational
Yes.
energy is high.
So what he says is he's almost kind of separated into three separate areas for me.
Mhm.
So he said if it's truly an anxiety issue because you've chosen to struggle with anxiety, he said this is different. This may need some sort of, you know, intervention, as far as like, maybe sometimes even some medical intervention,
Mhm.
homeopathic intervention. He said that's a medical
Right.
kind of clinical. When you're empathic, it's very important for anybody who feels that they are empathic to get into the habit of asking whether an emotion or a physical pain that they are experiencing is theirs, and if it is not, to please release it.
Well, how will
Um,
they know? Will they just feel the answer in their
you
heart?
just, yeah, well, you just say it to your guides, or to your, the universe, to God, whatever you want to say. If you're out somewhere and you all of a sudden feel this anxiety, and you think, oh, I really have a struggle with big crowds. Well, maybe you don't have a struggle with big crowds. Maybe what you have a struggle with is picking up on the anxiety that's in a big crowd, because there's a bunch of other people who might be anxious. So you go and you say, okay, I recognize that I'm feeling anxious. You just say it in your head. You do not have to say it out loud. I recognize that I'm anxious. If any or all of this anxiety does not belong to me, please, take it away.
Take it away.
And
It protect you from it. Yeah.
yes, yep. And that is very helpful for people who are empathic to get in the habit of doing, because I'm sure anybody who's watching this video, who's empathic,
Mhm.
you'll pick up a physical pain. All of a sudden my knee hurts, my back hurts, I feel anxious, I feel sad, I feel overwhelmed. And a lot of times it's just because it's somebody around you with that feeling.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's key. He said that is key to do. Now, if you're sensitive to the energy from the other side, um, now I'll speak personally from my experience. Anybody who I've opened up to before knows I do have a bit of an anxiety issue. And I know when I sit down to do a reading, the anxiety gets very intense. I just know now that means that I've got others from the other side coming in. And so I I still don't love the feeling of it,
Yeah.
but I know that it means that something's about to happen. And
Yeah.
so I kind of, instead of try to fight through it, Erik says you just ease into it. He's like, you just flow with it.
Make it
Um,
your friend. Like you said that
yes.
before.
Yep. Yes.
So what
Yeah.
about
And he really does say, like, anybody who truly, truly suffers from anxiety, he said the mindset of getting rid of the anxiety, he said that's overwhelming and actually creates more anxiety.
mm,
He said, so if you are somebody who struggles with anxiety, don't think that you're ever going to get rid of your anxiety, but you can make it more manageable. You can understand it. You can learn how to work with it a little bit better.
work with it?
Um,
Yeah, I like that.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
because, and really, he says, truly, anxiety sometimes is a good thing. If you're in a place where you're not supposed to be, if you're in a job or a relationship that you're not supposed to be in, this is one of the ways the universe will upset you, because it will, it will increase your anxiety. The universe, God, your spirit guides, the angels, whatever, they'll increase the anxiety because you still have the free will to stay in that decision. But if you get to the point where you're so anxious that's like, no, I can't do it anymore, that's actually a good thing.
yeah. So it can be a sign to your soul that something's not right, a change needs to be made. But
Mm-hmm.
so how do you distinguish that from picking up anxiety around your coworkers, for example? Or
Again, you asking if it's not my anxiety to
oh, yeah,
release it.
yeah,
That's the biggest key, because it doesn't feel any different. So you have to get into the habit of releasing what is not yours and
that makes
protecting
sense.
yourself from picking it up.
What about uh, like say in a past life, at 20 years old, you got killed in a
Mhm.
war. And all of a sudden, when you're 20 years old in this life, you start to get anxious. Could there be a
Yes.
relationship there?
Yes, absolutely. He says absolutely, and he says that actually happens quite a bit to
Oh,
people, where they have, like, at a certain age they have some sort of a breakdown, so
yeah.
to speak. He said you would refer to it there as kind of like a breakdown. And
Hmm.
he said actually a lot of times, if your life, one of your lives before at that age, you had like a more of a traumatic passing.
Hmm.
He said absolutely that can create anxiety, and sometimes it'll be a brief period. It'll be like 6 months or something, where it's
Ah,
like, where it's coming, like your subconscious knows it's coming. But he said yes, absolutely, that happens.
wow.
And then sometimes people get past that and they never experience that intensity again.
Interesting. I also remember one person who became suicidal and
Mhm.
past life regression uncovered the fact that she committed suicide. I think it was a she at that about that same age in another life. So
Yep.
that could
Yeah,
be.
so the emotions and stuff were coming through again, and the urge to do it. Yeah, absolutely.
So past life regression would help in those
Yes.
situations. So do you recommend, Eric, that everybody with anxiety, if they do find out that it's not, anxiety from other people, entering you as an empath, do you think just to be sure, people should get a past life regression if
Yeah.
they suffer from
Y-
anxiety?
Yeah, he says really for everybody, yes, past life regression, if you are open to it, he said you really can learn a lot, but you have to be open. He said not everybody is, and of course there's those people who just wouldn't be able to go under even if they
Yeah.
wanted to. But he said, yeah, anybody who can and is willing, past life regression is good for so many things. He said, you know
Good.
what he just said? He's like, he says, with when you do a past life regression, he says it gives you pieces of the puzzle that are fit in the lifetime now that you wouldn't necessarily be able to get any other way.
That's interesting because, of course, all of our lives, past and future, can somehow bleed through and influence our current one, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay. So tell me some approaches beside past life regression that one could do. Of course, if you have PTSD, something like EMDR would help,
hmm
or the tapping thing, EFT. But what other things? Like, are there homeopathic remedies,
Yeah.
for example?
Yeah,
Okay.
so he says that meditation is a really good one, but he says super anxious people, he says, really do have a very hard time meditating.
Maybe
Um,
active
yes,
meditation would be better for them, like going on
yes,
a hike or
absolutely.
gardening. Okay, washing
Yep. So
dishes.
meditation is a very good one. He says with anxiety in particular, um, like the smells, like the lavender, or anything that is soothing for you, is good to carry on you everywhere you go,
Hmm.
just for that calming, that soothing. He said if you're open to crystals and the energy from crystals and stones, there are some very, very good stones to carry for anxiety. Um, and then he says breathing, because you got to remember, he says you have to remember to take that deep breath. As soon as you get to the heightened state of anxiety, people's breath gets shallow. And he said that keeps you in the fight or flight. You have to take the deep breath to get yourself out of fight or flight, but the instinct is to breathe shallow. So breathing techniques, and the tapping is good for anybody. Anybody who has anxiety, he said, should learn a little bit about the tapping,
Yeah,
because
go
it's
on
something.
YouTube. There's this
Yep.
really adorable little guy with a red shirt and white pants, or white shirt, red pants. I can't remember. A little dark hair, very young, and he has a series on YouTube's. And if you type in, on EFT rather, if you type in emotional freedom technique, anxiety, you could probably find him and another a bunch of other ones. Now, when my kids would like have a meltdown, like they got hurt or whatever, I would walk them out in the street and say, "Oh, look at that tree! Oh, look at that!" And have them
Yes.
just look at this. Okay, look at that flower. Go look at that cloud. It would just bring them out and calm them down.
Yeah, to
So
focus on something else, because Erik says, anxiety is it's one of those things that's so much worse of an emotion than what is actually going on.
I know,
And and
but would that kind of thing work if people are
yes,
anxious? If you like, I'm noticing that thing. I'm noticing, just bring yourself out of your mind.
yeah, yes. So he says anything to shift your focus to
Ah,
something else besides the anxiety. So yeah, listing things that you can see. There's another one that he's reminding me of where it's like you list, 5 things you can see, 4 things you can hear, 3 things that
oh,
you can smell, like you just go through the touch, the taste, and you just list the things that are right there that you could see,
oh, okay,
hear,
that's
smell, taste,
cool.
touch.
Now, what about the
Um,
crystal? Which crystal would be a good one?
okay, so um, for anxiety, um, and calmness in general, anything that's got a light blue color,
Okay.
in particular, angel light.
Hmm.
Um, Angel light is a very, very good one for anxiety.
Oh, I
But
never heard of that one.
kind of anything in that light blue area.
Oh, okay.
Hmm.
Um, and of course, you can get these bracelets or even a necklace with lava beads and a light blue stone, whatever. You can buy those online, and you can put like lavender oil on the lava beads, and then when you feel like, or even oil diffusers with
Yep.
lavender or whatever other calming things. Okay, chakras. What chakras need to be balanced if you're an anxious person?
Okay. So actually, he said it can really be any of them. He said it can be
Ah,
any of them can be out of balance, and create anxiety. So any type of entire balancing, any type of healing, uh, it doesn't. He said it doesn't necessarily pinpoint one specifically. One of them being messed up could create anxiety.
okay. So basically, getting your chakras cleansed and tuned
Hmm.
by um, somebody like Ryan Adragna at healingsthroughspirit.com.
Yes.
Or you can also listen on iTunes or YouTube. You can listen to certain songs or tones that will
Yeah.
balance the chakras, right? And there's certain
Yep.
meditations
Absolutely.
that
Like
can
this.
too. Yeah.
Yeah, and like the singing bowls, anybody who's familiar with those crystal bowls or the singing bowls, that use the wand, and
Right.
there's ones for every chakra. So if it's something that you're really interested in making sure your chakras are balanced, having a set of those chakra bowls is also a good thing
Yeah. Or
to.
you can listen to somebody else doing it on YouTube or something.
Yeah, yep,
But it's
yep,
probably better
absolutely.
if it's right in your house. Now, speaking of, what about cleaning the energy in your house and your workplace? Would that help anxiety? In some
Yes.
cases,
Oh, absolutely. Anything, it's like, he says anything that you do proactively to help with the anxiety is going to help. So yes, cleansing your area. The home, he says, sometimes he said the home is easier to control depending on if you're living with people who really do love you, and it's a
yeah.
cohesive environment. He said that's sometimes easier than the work environment,
Mm.
because sometimes you can't really cleanse
I
like
know. It's like,
the
huh?
way that you
I'm
do.
smudging with this sage.
Yes.
It smells like weed. Yeah, that's
Yes, exactly, exactly.
no,
So,
I
he
know.
says for
Well,
work,
on the
there's
side, just
spray.
get those little bells and Tibetan bells and bing. Oh, what are you doing?
Yes, yes,
I don't
and
know.
there's like sage and Palo Santo spray.
Oh, okay.
So if you can't have like smoke, you can maybe spritz a little. And
Okay.
um,
All right. What about children with anxiety?
okay, so he says children, a lot of times with children, it has to do with past lives,
Oh,
because they're still so connected.
oh yeah.
So he says a lot of times because of the connection to other side and the openness that they have,
Mm.
it is a lot of times connected to other lifetimes and sensing the energy of the spirits
Yeah, because they are more
and
open.
their guides.
Open to,
Yep.
yeah, more energy. Wow.
Yes.
So things like
Yes.
the little bracelets, or, well, you don't want them to be at a choking age, but
Yeah.
and the oil diffusers by their bed
Yes.
or whatever.
Yep. And crystals tend
Oh
to
yeah.
work very well with children.
Hmm.
Again, like you said, not for choking, but like certain grounding crystals, energy
Mm.
clearing, crystals to have in a child's room who tends to be anxious. And he said another thing, for kids who have a lot of anxiety, they do tend to have like the nightmares and the sleepwalking. He said that ends up being very, very common,
Mm.
um, with higher anxiety kids. So he says if you have a child like this, a good thing to do is at night when they're asleep to just go in and tell them that everything is okay, that this is, any anxieties or any worries that they brought with them from other times, don't apply here, and they don't need to, but you've got to do it into their subconscious. So they
Oh
have to be,
yeah. Oh, good. That's a great
yep.
idea.
Yeah. And also with the dreams, if you have a child with a lot of bad dreams, same thing, whisper into their ear in their subconscious, only happy dreams, only happy thoughts, I love you, this kind of stuff. It can be very, very helpful.
Good. What about dream catchers? Do they work? Or is it just because you think they work, they work?
No, there is something to them. What Erik is saying is it really has to do with the intention of the person who made it.
Okay.
So he said if you are going to get one, not that they would be harmful if you didn't, but that it is kind of good to know the intention of the person. So maybe something better to buy like locally or from,
Oh yeah.
handcrafted from somebody that you know.
I know
Um,
with Michelle, she always had, when she was little, nightmares about sharks, and it probably came from a past life. I don't know. And I would, right before she went to sleep, I would have her envision the shark, but then have him change into being a really nice shark that has a little tutu on and dances like a ballerina with her, and it stopped it. But my husband has another way. He would like has this magic power of taking bad dreams out of kids' heads, and he would like, okay, let me concentrate. Okay, pull it out and stuff it in his pocket. There we go. No more bad dream. So, and that seemed to
yeah.
work too. I guess it's the
Yeah.
power of belief.
Yes, and kids are much better at that than adults are. Kids are much better at believing
Yeah,
that that my dad took my bad dream.
that's
So
true.
yes.
That's true. That's cool.
Yeah.
Also, grounded. I mean, do some people have anxiety just because they're ungrounded?
Yes. Yes, absolutely. Which of course that connects to the lower chakra, the root chakra.
Ah,
That's why I was like, I couldn't get him to pinpoint a chakra. He's like, no, it could be any of them. Yes. Yeah, because what he's saying is that when your root chakra is kind of out of whack and you're ungrounded, um it's like there's this, you've got to grasp on to something because you don't feel connected as much.
yeah.
So he said that's where the anxiety comes from. It's like, he says people like this tend to not know what they're supposed to be doing, where am I going, what's happening, and they get very panicky.
Mm,
So yes, grounding, if you have that kind of energy, anything grounding is going to be very, very helpful. Spending time outside, barefooted, any of the stones and crystals in the browns and the earth tones are going to be grounding typically. Um,
okay.
so tiger's eye. I
Obsidian, black tourmaline.
those are, yeah, those will be good. They'll be protective, but for the grounding, the
Oh,
true grounding, you want the earth tone stones.
oh yeah, like
Um,
brown, like tiger's eye. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, that's the honestly that's my one that I can think of. I can't think of any others. So
Did you put it in their pocket, or it could be for an
yeah,
adult too?
yeah, yeah. So Erik says for people who are not grounded, um, you want to carry the grounding stones with you,
Okay.
because you've got to get your energy regrounded. Now he is giving me the name of another one. I think he's showing it to me. I think it's called Desert Rose. But
Okay.
I don't know. It's sand and selenite dust that gets
Oh.
thrown together, and they're very, very beautiful.
Mm.
And he said that's another really good one for grounding. But also he says for if you're really into stones and you really feel ungrounded, you want to make sure that you, for at least a little while, don't carry any moldavite on you.
Okay.
Moldavite is from an asteroid, from space,
Oh,
and so he
really?
says if you're having trouble getting grounded and you're wearing any moldavite, make sure you
I never
yeah.
heard of it. All right. So
Yes.
why are some people ungrounded?
Okay, so he says a lot of times it is a challenge that they chose to come in here with. They tend to not feel connected to being here. So this would be like kind of maybe more of a star seed might have this kind of
Oh.
energy of not being grounded because they're like, okay, this is not where I belong. I've got to get up out of here. I've got to get up out of
Oh,
here.
yeah. Oh
So
gosh.
yeah, that's where the disconnect is to, okay, you're in a physical body and you're here on Earth.
Yeah.
But he said it can be how you're brought up. He said it can be nurture as
Yeah.
well as
That's
nature.
nature. Yeah. God,
Yes.
I don't know why my phone keeps going off like on Texas because I got it on mute, people. So don't be hating. Don't be hating. Well, uh, what about if people are like a little off their spiritual path, their mission? Can that make them feel ungrounded?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And that would be another way, like that would be a way of pushing you back
Oh yeah, of
to
course, yeah.
your spiritual journey. But yes, that will definitely make you feel ungrounded. He says a lot of times when you've gotten off your spiritual path, though, there'll be some depression along with it.
Oh yeah, of course.
So
And then it'd
yes.
be good to have between live sessions,
Hmm.
regression sessions like with Robert Schwartz.
Yes.
He's got it going on. What's the name of his? YourSoulsJourney.com, I think. Anyway, I'll try to remember to link it here. I'm sure I'm going to forget, but anyway. Oh well. What about grounding sheets? I saw that on Amazon. There's,
Yes,
you
and
know
the
how
blankets.
yeah, oh yeah, blankets too. You know how the plugs have just two places with prongs, but then one just a hole, and
Yes.
it goes. That's the grounding hole, and you just stick it in there. And what about that for kids or
Yes.
more
He said, yeah,
adults?
that can be, yeah, and yeah, both. Those can be very, very helpful. And those, as you said, that heavy blanket, that's like
Yeah.
that soothing blanket, it's a weighted blanket. He said that can also
Oh,
be very good.
the not
To
grounding one, not the ones that plug in, just a heavy blanket.
well, it's like there's
Uh oh.
popular now. Again, you can find them on Amazon. He said that would be good for anxiety. But yes,
Okay.
the grounding sheets, that will be very good for helping to ground people. And he says you do have to, because he says you can be too grounded.
Oh, what does that look like?
um, if you're starting to ground yourself, just make sure it's balanced. What was that?
Well,
Oh, I
what does
lost
it
you.
look
What did you
like?
say, Lisa?
What does it look like to be too grounded?
Okay, it's he said too grounded looks like very stubborn.
Oh, I
Um
knew it.
yes,
I
it looks
knew
very
it.
stubborn, not liking any kind of change. Um
That might be earthlings, people who really tend to,
yes.
yeah, I bet, like my husband. Well,
Yes. Yep.
Lucas always has to have, and ever since he was little, a big heavy blanket on himself. It could be like
Mhm.
100 degrees outside, and he just still wants that blanket, and
Yep.
or he wants to even now will take those snuggly things, and he'll take it to the airport, use it on the plane.
Yep.
I think it's just because he needs to be grounded. Who knows?
Yeah, it's like Eric saying, yeah, he still wants to be swaddled.
Oh my God. That's probably true. He's a mama's baby. Mama's baby.
Yeah.
Let's see. Is there anything else that say about anxiety and the approach? Oh, wait, what about panic disorders? Is that something we need to talk about that's any different in the approach to it?
It's just his panic is just like the extreme form of anxiety.
Okay.
Um,
All right.
he said you can have like this anxiety, but the panic attack is like kind of when anxiety gets out of hand.
And social
Like
anxiety, like agoraphobia, that's probably a lot of times just for empaths getting all
yes,
this stuff from other people. And
yes. And he said oftentimes with social people who have social anxiety, he said they think that they're weirder than they are. And so
yeah.
that makes them nervous. Like they're going to be weird
Oh,
and they're going to be awkward. And
oh,
he said he says everybody's weird. He's like, everybody's weird.
I
Everybody,
sure am. God,
yeah, everybody has their
I
own thing.
like my weirdness. And Austin, the city of Austin, its model is keep Austin weird, and it is really weird. Um,
Yeah.
well, that's good. So, but I guess some people can just lack self-confidence, maybe because
Yeah.
of nurtured, the way they were nurtured, and they
Yes.
feel uncomfortable around people because they feel like they're going to be judged or compared.
Yep. Yep.
But any other ways to shield empaths in a crowded situation? Can they visualize like a glass dome around them or
Yes.
bubble of light or just so there's all sorts of things that can be done,
Yeah.
right?
Anybody who's empathic, it's a good idea to get into that habit anyways of um, when you go out into public to kind of be protected from the negative, because you don't want to protect yourself from everything. You want
No.
to still feel the good and the positive. So anything that negative that you don't need to experience or don't need to feel, you want to protect yourself by surrounding yourself with white light or a bubble, a balloon, whatever you envision.
Like
So
a,
that's just
zip it up like a sleeping bag.
yes. And
Okay.
Eric just said, and unfortunately for empaths, he said this is a constant thing
Yeah.
that you can't just do it and then stop doing it. He says you have to do it every day. He said this is something that you do every day.
Can you just go out in the morning with that intent, or do you have to kind
Yes.
of like refresh it? Oh my God, it's noon. I need to go put that, change the bubble.
Well, he said it really depends. It really depends on the day you're having. You might need to refresh it, but
Yeah.
it's
Oh yeah.
definitely not. It's definitely something that, and the asking, hey, if this is not my anxiety,
Right.
can you take it away? He said this is like a routine type thing that you need to do if you're
Sure.
empathic.
Okay. Anything else you want to share? Well, and you too, Jennifer. Anything else you want to share because you suffered well, I don't want to say suffer, have to deal with the same
Yes.
thing.
Yeah, and so it keeps coming into my head, and this is for a lot of people. Driving can cause anxiety
Hmm.
for many people.
Usually
And
with me, it's people on the road around me
yes,
that should have anxiety.
yes, and I'll tell you, I
Well, I mean,
found
you're
this.
not supposed to agree with that, but it's true. I'm not a very good driver.
No, but that's what it is. It's like
Yeah.
I'm saying not that you're not a good driver, but the worry is the other people and what's going to happen.
Oh,
And
yeah. No,
there's so much.
they should have anxiety because I'm on the road.
Oh no. I
No,
don't
I'm
know.
better. I'm
I've
better.
not ridden. I did ride with you. No, you're good. You're fine.
Okay. Well, I was on my best
Um,
behavior.
but one of the things that I discovered years ago that really helped with that particular form of anxiety for me was audiobooks.
Hmm.
Because I found that even the radio, the music, my mind would still wander. But with an audiobook, I had to pay attention to the book. And
Oh, I
so
love that idea.
yes, for anybody who drives and has anxiety, think about, I've listened to like, in the last like 5 years, I think I've listened to like 300 or 400 audiobooks.
Yeah, and you get an
Um,
education and, of course,
yeah,
entertainment, depending on the book. You guys, My Life After Death and My Son of the Afterlife both come as, audiobooks too. So keep
perfect.
that in mind.
Do not listen to meditation books
Oh,
on
God, no.
audio while you're
God,
driving.
no, please.
Um, but yeah, so that for me is something I found very helpful.
That is a great idea.
Yeah, and so you just have to, if you're somebody who struggles with anxiety, you just have to find your things that just take the edge off a bit.
Yeah,
And then use those things, whatever it
yeah.
might be for you.
Any combination of what Erik and Jennifer have shared with you, or create your own
Yes.
rituals, etc. So yeah,
Yep.
it's good. Anything else you want to say, Erik, before we close?
Just that he loves you, and he
Love
said,
you
get
too.
your cleanse going. Get your
Oh
cleanse
God, I
going.
forgot about that already. Okay, do you think I should get Arlene grounding sheets? She's all over the place in school. She doesn't have anxiety, but she's very ungrounded.
Yep. Yep.
Okay, but they don't cause cancer, right? Because there's electricity involved, right?
No, he
Okay,
says you're fine. You're
good.
fine.
All right, thank you. And you guys check out psychicmediumjenniferdoran.com. Book an appointment with her. She might be really booked, but check it out. And I love you, Jennifer. I love you, Eric.
I love you
And
too. Eric loves you.
until next time,
Yes. Bye.
bye bye. Thank you.